Guys, I'm really thrilled to welcome to the podcast, welcome back to the podcast, a man that Debbie and I think is one of the best filmmakers making films today. His name is John Grooters. We were really introduced to his work with his great film called Sabina, a powerful Christian film that just overwhelmed both Debbie and me. And more recently, we've seen a marvelous film that John has made called The Frontier Boys. The Frontier Boys. It's going to go up on my locals channel. Well, it was officially going to go up tomorrow, but it's going to be up for you today. So you can watch this film. Certainly, if you want, you can watch it today or watch it over the weekend. The website is just frontierboys.locals.com, frontierboys.locals.com. And you'll have two choices. You can subscribe to my locals channel, get the movie for free along with other films, or you can just buy the film, stream it and watch it either way. But you won't be sorry. This is not like roaming through Netflix and watching the usual rubbish that's up there. So John Grooters, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you. And talk to people a little bit, because filmmaking is to many people such a kind of a magical art. You've been involved with it a long time. And you are also, you're a writer, you're a director, you're a producer, so you kind of do it all. Talk a little bit about your story. How did you get into filmmaking and acquaint yourself with this magical art?
How did I? Yeah, that's a good way to put it, a magical art, because it's a lot of components. It's a lot of nuts and bolts, but just like putting a robot together, that wouldn't mean it would work. So we learn about all the pieces and parts of filmmaking, as you know, from what a good story is translated into a good script. You know, they're not the same thing. A good screenplay has particular nuances to it that make for a good film. And the pre-production phases of a film are just everything. I mean, really casting, you just pray you get the right cast and the right characters to bring that script to life, and locations and crew. Filming days themselves, they're mostly about efficiency, to be honest. It's a magical art that costs a lot per day. And so being organized and getting as much done per day as you can without creating mutiny on the crew is kind of the art of that. And even if all that goes right, again, as a filmmaker yourself, in the edit room is when that sort of becomes magic or dies on the vine. And they often have said to me, your film is never as good as you think it is when you finish production, and it's never as bad as you think it is after the first edit.
Wow, John. So, I'm laughing as I listen to you because it's all so familiar. And I think you're also outlining why the filmmaking art is difficult, because it combines, there's financial aspects to it, there are creative aspects to it, but then there's just the simple grind of getting it done. And very often I find people have one skill or the other, but putting this sort of ensemble of skills together is where the challenge lies.
Grind is a really good word. And, when we are hiring people at our company to move into production, we're very honest with it. It's work, you've got to be a hard worker, and you've got to embrace that the way a farmer has to. A farmer isn't told by anybody when to do the different tasks that it takes to plant and harvest and distribute and sell. And no one tells the filmmaker usually either. You have to be self-motivated, self-organized, because it doesn't come to you with an operator's manual. You have to generate it. And a grind is a good word. I love the grind, though. At the same time, I'm not complaining at all. The chance to work with colleagues, the chance to work with actors, even the dozens and hundreds even of hours I spend right here behind me where I'm editing a film together. I appreciate that there's so much variety. I would be bored if I was just, a single aspect of filming all the time, if I was just a DP. So for me, Dinesh, man, I love the variety. At the end of the day, though, my only job, as I see it, is to be the representative of the audience in the project. It's not about the filmmakers. It's not about the actors. It's not about the lenses. It's about the audience. And it's easy to lose sight of them.
That's a very important point. In Sabina, you took the audience, you took Debbie and me into Romania in the Nazi years, and we felt we were right there. And then here you make The Frontier Boys, and we're in a high school gym and we're playing basketball, and the ability that you have to kind of capture that ambiance. I mean, Debbie was a high school cheerleader, so she's like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is exactly the way it is. This is the mood. This is the feel of it. Talk a little bit about the story of the Frontier Boys, because it's a story I didn't expect to fully identify with, but I found myself like drawn into it. And it's a very powerful movie, just like Sabina, different than Sabina, but it has that same, it engages you emotionally. And at the end, it's a very moving and inspiring film.
Yeah, it's about four guys, and it's a friend movie. It's a buddy movie in a way, and these guys are high school sophomores, and that's the most awkward phase, just about of our lives. Anything from 7th to 10th grade for a boy, your body is not quite what you wanted it to be. It's not quite what it was. Your personality is kind of emerging. If there's a faith to be forged up to this point, more than likely it's kind of been not imposed on you, but introduced from family. And now all of a sudden, maybe you have a driver's license. You have a car for the first time. You have choices. And the world is your oyster. This story is really personal for me, which wouldn't matter to the audience. But my personal story, I grew up in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And then my family moved when I was a high school freshman. And they moved from the desert of the Southwest to the waters of the north of Michigan, northern Michigan, to the town of Charlevoix. Massive change from big city to small town, from 120 in the summer to the seasons and the lakes. And I remember at that time, even as I was driving across the country with a guy to get to our new life, thinking, I have a chance to reinvent myself. I'm not sure I want to just live on this person that got, was growing up with all my buddies who had started to turn some very self-destructive ways. And you have a reputation that I just love the chance. I'm going to start over. I want to live a little bit differently. I want to decide who I'm going to be in a slightly different way. And for me personally, this little northern town on the shorelines of Lake Michigan was so cathartic. I can see it more clearly, I think, in retrospect, decades later than at the time. But I know at the time I embraced it fully. And one of the things I did was play basketball at this little high school. And it's now been turned into the middle school. It's not even the high school anymore. But I got to go back and film in this. I think it's a beautiful, iconic gym. And basketball, it's not a basketball movie per se, but again, since it's sort of personal for me, the basketball scenes, I wanted them to feel very authentic to anybody who played or loves the game. Not that we watch it from the distant camera like a broadcaster does, but like it felt to me when I was on that court in those days. I couldn't see 360 degrees around me. I couldn't see from a 45-degree angle at the top. I could only see, any player. Your eye level with your opponent, and it was my desire was to capture that feeling, even though that's really a peripheral piece of the broader story of these four boys and how they get in this terrible mess. And one of them has a terrible secret that is just eating him up from the inside. In the movie itself, if you get the chance to see it, I hope that everybody can sort of identify with our main character and recognize when you've got a secret and it can destroy you, but you don't always recognize that. It's not a cliche, it's a Bible verse, the truth will set you free. But that's a hard thing to come to when the truth might cost you something. And that's the nature of the story. And then the other thing that's interesting to me is the whole motivation for this movie was when my son was about 12 or about this age. I remember thinking, I can't find a single movie that I want to go to with him. He'd outgrown the kids' movies. It wasn't at that time like we were going to go see some of the younger kids' movies. I didn't want to bring him into the movie theater for what was available really at the time, because there was always, we just were on different pages of what I was trying to inspire him to be. And so I wanted to find a film I could take my boy to, that he would like, he would identify with. It wouldn't feel like it was trying to feed him vegetables, watch your vegetables tell. It wasn't that. It was a cool movie with guys that were just a teeny bit older than him, and he would sort of see in them some characteristics that he found appealing and he might want to emulate. And that was the whole point of the movie, a movie that dads could take their boys to and like it, that they would both like it.
It's a fun movie, and it starts off in a disarmingly simple way, and then it draws you in. And it's really about moral choices, and it's about coming to terms with decisions that you make. Very powerful. Guys, the movie is called The Frontier Boys. You got to see it today or this weekend. The website, frontierboys.locals.com. You'll be able to just buy the movie, stream it, watch it, or you can join my Locals channel, buy an annual subscription. You'll get the movie for free. Don't miss it. It's John Grooters. John, thank you for joining me. And this is a great movie that you've made. I'm very honored and delighted to feature it on my Locals channel.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. I appreciate it.